This is our 13th annual stage showcase. I'd like to thank all of you who have come to tournaments all season and supported us throughout, coming to the tournaments and watching the kids and supporting them, and especially thank you for coming tonight. We've had a pretty good season. We're young this year. We're very young. In fact, I've got 8 of our 16 will be their first time at state this year. So we're coming off a 3rd place finish. We have high hopes, but we're young. So we won 5 of our tournaments this year, and we have qualified a total of 27 events to state. I can only take 16 to state champs, and some of the others will be going to state festival. We are league champs again this year. For those of you that have not been here before, we do this showcase for a couple of reasons. First of all, it allows the kids to perform for their families and their friends and for the community. And the second reason is because this is a really good coaching tool for us. I take all of the state champ events and put them on tape. I put them in a performance atmosphere so that they'll see what they look like, and then we use it and we critique it really hard between now and state, which will be in a couple of weeks. You're going to see 12 of the 16 events that are going to the state champs. Those that are not performing tonight are on the back of your program, and there's a lot of them there that we just simply don't have time for everybody to go. My state festival kids, Abby Kendall and Delaney Taylor and Brittany Wheeler, are going to go to festival for us, and Brittany is going to be my MC tonight, so she's going to introduce each one of the kids. I'd like to thank the Ottawa County Music Club for being here tonight, and they have a presentation. They are also going to serve ice cream after the presentation, or the performances tonight. So,
Ann Crack and I are members of the Ottawa County Music Club, and we have a fundraiser in the fall where we sell frozen braided breads, and then we try to support the music and arts of Ottawa County. So we have a $50 check for forensics to be used wherever.
all right. We appreciate it very much, and we appreciate you. All right. All right, Brittany, when you go. All right, you wait till I get back there and get the tape on, okay? She's so tall. All right, Brittany.
First we have Adeline Laws. She's a 2nd-year sophomore. It's her 2nd year to state, and tonight she will perform her humorous solo.
You have got to have exactly 56 curls if you even want a chance to win the Shirley Temple Lookalike Contest. Me and my best buddies, Kara, Teensy, and Neensy, spent all morning at the beauty parlor getting our hair done just perfect. When Miss Beverly took the rags off my hair, I made sure to count each curl. I didn't want her to mess up and give me 38 curls instead of 56. Later, Teensy's brother looked us all over and said,
Y'all are a whole lot prettier than Miss Shirley. She looks like a little skunk compared to y'all. Y'all are gonna knock Miss Shirley's name right off the marquee.
Shirley Temple is a famous childhood actress. All the little girls wanted to be just like her. So, when the Shirley Temple Lookalike Contest came to town, it was a big deal. What happened that day might just shock little Miss Shirley. Or she might have just jumped right in. The following selection is taken from The Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood by Rebecca Wells. Carol was the first to hear about the Shirley Temple Lookalike Contest because her father owns the Bob, one of the 2 theaters in Thornton. Mr. Bob also owns the Bob in Rayville and the Bob in Royalton. His biggest is in New Orleans, the Robert. It's the finest of all the Bob theaters in the world. A month ago, it was formally announced that the Bob was contest with the Shirley Temple Man coming all the way from Hollywood. The girl that wins this contest gets to go down to New Orleans and represent our town. This girl also gets to stay in the Princeton Hotel and be treated like royalty the whole entire time. I have always wanted to be on the stage of the ball. And now, here I am, standing in front of the footlights, high above the audience. Lights, lights, lights. I was meant to be a star. When Genevieve brought us to the theater this afternoon, they made us check in at the door, where they gave us a piece of cardboard with string on it to hang around our necks. These were our official contest numbers. Mine was 39. Caro's was 40. Titi's was 41. And somehow, things got mixed up because Niti's 61. I hate this piece of cardboard. It covers up the buttons of my little blue coat. I want to step in front of all these other ringlet-haired girls and break into a dance. But we have to stand in line. All we're supposed to do is stand here and try to look like Shirley Temple. I hate it. I have so many other talents. I can sing, I can dance, I can even act out stories I made up all by myself. These folks don't know what they're missing. If only I could strut my stuff. I would not only win this contest, but I'd win the one in New Orleans too. And then I would take Cara, Titi, and Niti with me on my trip around America. And I'd wave to everybody, and they'd forget old Shirley ever existed. Titi, my mouth hurts from all this smiling. Then, I don't have the slightest idea what got into her, but she hauled off and stepped on my foot. So, I stepped back, and I grind a little. Ouch! She likes this kind of stuff. It's what keeps her going. But then, out of nowhere at all, Teensy Poots, one of the biggest poots you ever heard. I don't understand how a poot that big could come out of a girl that small. She looks behind her like she can't believe she did it. Like when our dog poots and it scares him. All the other little girls hear it and they back away from us. Like Teensy's poot might be alive and is going to knock him down and crawl all over him. We started laughing, because if you know something funnier than pootin', I sure wish you'd tell me. Mr. Hollywood himself was offered the actual poot. He's still on the other side of the stage, examining the other girls. But when he hears us laughing, he looks our way and mouths the words, "Be quiet." This just makes us laugh even harder. Then Caro and Niti start cracking up too. Shh! Mr. Hollywood signals with his shh finger in front of his mouth. Then he takes that same finger and makes a smile out of it, trying to get us to do the same. The sight of Mr. Hollywood doing this just pushes us over the edge. We started howling, the kind of laughing that makes our mother send us outdoors. When we don't quiet down, Mr. Hollywood turns on his fancy heels and heads our way. His eyes are popping out of his head and his mouth is wide open. And we can see that he has not one, but 3 rotted brown teeth. Those front ones are shiny white, but those back ones are rotted. At first, I thought he was gonna hit us, but then he must have changed his mind because he turned the other direction, towards the microphone.
Since you girls have something so funny, why don't you
Tell the rest of us.
We all 4 look at each other.
And then Caro takes a step towards the microphone. Do ya really want to know what's so funny?
Yes, number 40, we do.
Well, okay. Teensy farted.
The whole audience just lets it go. A gang of them up at the front, led by my brother, I bet, start making Putin noises with their hands. Until other sections of the theater join in, making the same noise. It sounds like the theater is full of a bunch of pooters. I am still dying to talk into the microphone. So I take a deep breath, give a big old smile, take a step towards the microphone, and say, "My name is Pootie Pootwell." Waves of applause rush up onto the stage and crash against my new shoes. I knew they'd love me if I even had half a chance. But this theater is going crazy. There's popcorn flying everywhere. Juju Blues are landing on the stage, and all the other little girls are crying and calling for their mommies. Some of the mothers rush up to the stage to grab their daughters, and some of the other mothers look at us and say, "You girls should be ashamed of yourselves." But I'm not ashamed at all. The whole theater is going crazy, and it's all because of me.
Next is Jade Price. She's a third-year junior. It's her second year going to state. And tonight, you will see her informative speech.
All day long, we stared at those slowly changing numbers on the wall. They seem to drag by. We wait for those magic digits to appear. 325. This time marks the end of the day for most students. It signifies a new sense of freedom. Freedom to watch TV, play videos, text on our phones nonstop. In other words, to waste a lot of time. Time, a concept hard to define, hard to manage, and impossible to get back. We learn at an early age that without clocks, we have no real perception of time. To better understand this valuable commodity, today we'll be looking at the history of time measurement. We'll then look at the misperception of time, and finally we'll look at how we can use our time more wisely. Let's begin by looking at the history of time measurement. What did people do before clocks were invented? Think about it. Unless you have an appointment or something you're looking forward to, do you really need to know what time it is? People living before time measurement was even thought of simply woke when it was daylight and went to sleep when it got dark. They ate when they were hungry, and they didn't have to worry about being late, early, or just in time. When the world started evolving, people realized they needed a way to measure time. But how do you measure something you can't see? According to author Joy Massive, the first ever clock was merely a stick in the sand. The stick would cast shadows, allowing people to know what time of day it was. This clock evolved into the sundial, which has numbers for more accurate time telling. Then in 1400 BCE, the clepsydra was invented. It was invented by the Egyptians, keeping time with the constant dripping of water. Then, somewhere between the sundial and the clepsydra, were hourglasses. And today, we have clocks on our walls keeping a constant tempo of time. But the most accurate clocks we have are the ones connected to satellites. They can transmit signals directly to our TVs and even our cell phones. Let's move on now and look at the misperception of time. Everyone perceives time differently. Time perception is a construction of the brain which is manipulable and distortable, says psychologist Carl Baer. The best way to get a good perception of time is to jump off a building. You see, when you fall off of something or you jump off the high dive, you get the feeling of time slowing down, even though the fall takes less than a second. You're falling at a rate which you cannot perceive, so naturally you feel it actually is going slow. The duration of a fall from a 10-meter platform is 1.6 seconds. You'd be falling at a rate of 34 miles per hour. At this height and speed, professional divers still find enough time to do 4 different types of extremely difficult flips and spins. A good example of how we change our perception of time is an experiment called the oddball effect, an optical illusion. In this optical illusion, a series of simple images flash on a screen. Image of a plain brown shoe will appear over and over again. Plain brown shoe, plain brown shoe, plain brown shoe. But occasionally it will change to a pink flower. Plain brown shoe, pink flower, plain brown shoe. The pink flower seems to remain on screen longer, but it's on the screen the same amount of time as the plain brown shoe. Also, in life-threatening situations, we remember the time as being longer because we record more of the event. The more detailed the memory, the longer the moment seems to last. That is why time seems to pass faster as we grow older. We lose details of our memory, making time pass faster. According to neuroscientist David Eagleman, by focusing on what we are doing, our brains actually slow down time. The more our brains have to process, the slower time seems to pass. Just ask anyone in my Algebra 2 class. And finally, let's look at how we can use our time more wisely. Let's face it, we all want more time in our life to get more done. Be more, do more, have more. Yet, we're all given the same 24 hours as everyone else. Some people are just more efficient at squeezing out every moment of the day than others. For example, we spend 1/3 of our day sleeping, then another third of our day at school or work. After we have spent 2/3 of our day sleeping and working, we hardly ever want to do anything else except for stretch out on the couch with a remote in our hand. But then we have to start the day all over again. According to Natalie Sisson, there are secret ways to becoming highly productive with our time. She recommends for us to get up an hour earlier, set a timer to go off at 30-minute intervals to focus on only one activity, and throw out the TV, literally bury it in your backyard. Even planning your day according to the most important task makes your day seem more productive. But the best way to seem more productive is to stop procrastinating and just do it. Being highly productive is not a talent. It's simply a matter of organizing your life so you can efficiently get the right things done, says Mark Chernoff. Time blocking is one of the top tools people are using to become more productive with their time. The main idea is that specific blocks of time are pre-scheduled for specific activities. Once outside of that time block, you no longer worry about that activity. Evidence indicates that dopamine, a chemical in the brain which regulates movement and emotion, actually affects how we perceive time. So trying these new events actually makes our days seem longer. And also, just imagine how much more we could do with time travel. It's just a matter of time before this Star Trek concept becomes a reality. In conclusion, today I have told you that without clocks, we have no real perception of time. We looked at the history of time measurement. We then looked at the misperception of time, and finally we looked at how we can use our time more wisely. So as you sit here listening to me, I only hope you haven't been watching the clock. And these past few moments have just flown by because you've learned something. And you know what they say, time flies when you're having fun.
Next we have Micaiah Smith. She's a first-year freshman. This will be her first time going to state, and she will present her serious solo.
Sometimes it feels like to carry throughout this life. Mine and Laurel's. She shuffles her feet so slowly I have to drag her any place we need to be. She just sits there and stares out the window like she's in a dream. Laurel hasn't said a single word since that night she saw him down by the river. It must have been 3 years ago. Since then, she hasn't said water, or thank you, or hairbrush, not yes, or moon, or Delia, which is me. Childhood memories are supposed to be happy and treasured, yet the two young girls in the following selections are placed in a situation that will haunt them forever. The truth comes out as I explain. Why I Like Laurel by Anne Patchett. People thought she just lost her voice. Lost like something you can find again. Days went on, and even though she got better, she still wasn't making a sound. They tried to find a thing that closed her up, but once they couldn't find it, they just waited for it to pass. But it didn't. Laura just kept staring and shuffling and not saying a thing. Laura was like a ghost. Made them shiver in July. We were 10 years old when it all began. In May, before Laura stopped talking, my Aunt Nellie, why, she married a man named Hank, who everybody here called Nellie's boy. He had been taking a bus from Birmingham to Kentucky. When the bus stopped for gasoline and to pick up passengers. Oh, when Hank saw my Aunt Nellie across the street, he cashed in his ticket for what was left of the trip. They married not but 3 weeks later. Long before people knew him, they knew he was the man who had fallen for Nellie. And they'd say, look, there's Nellie's boy over there. And he never minded it, since that was how he thought of himself too. When he married Nellie, why, Nellie's boy married us all. Me, because I'm her niece. And Laura, because she's my best friend. Oh, there was no boundary to his love, and no end to the people he was willing to take as his own. If Nellie loved us, that was good enough. Why, he'd bring us packages of club gum, and he also taught us fish like men. Twice he said word that Laura and I were to come to the edge of the river and look at the trees. So we would run off towards the sound of water. We hollered for him to come out. Nellie's boy. But he was nowhere. So we thought he was hiding, waiting to jump out and scare us to death. So we would look up in the tree, thinking that's where he'd be. And Laura said, Delia, look what's there. Why, it was a black walnut tree, like the 1,000 others around it. Oh, but it hung oranges. Lord, he brought us oranges. 6 of them in all. Why, he tied them on so neat, you'd think they grew that way. And the second time, why, it was apples. Oh, he brought us apples. And then, we got a note. We couldn't imagine. Why, what would it be this time? Pears, maybe? I don't know. Pears? So we started rushing, trying to beat the darkness. We split up like a game so you could find first. It seemed like we looked for longer that night than usual. Maybe not, we were at the edge of the trees that stopped on a steep slope of the riverbank. And we heard the noise. We slid down beside a tree and listened. I thought it would be him, but as it got closer, we heard the voices of men. Loud voices. It was nearly dark by then, and though I could make out their voices, I couldn't make myself understand what they were saying. They were laughing in a way that made me feel cold. And then I could hear the small Yelps dogs, and then I could smell the dogs, and I knew that meant they could smell me too. We could see a line in the tree, and all the time it's moving towards us. I know this is danger, and not like in a fun house, but like something you know to run from, like a rabbit knows to run from a fox long before she sees it. And I saw their faces, six or seven. A few with guns even. Will grabbed my hand and I tried to think of something, so we started down a steep slope towards the riverbank. Half ran, half slid. This wasn't what we wanted. It wasn't what we come for. It's gonna find us, said Laura. But I said no. They can't see us down here. They can't smell us so close to the water. I didn't know if this was true, but I wanted to be so. I said it again. Oh, we held our breath for so long. I knew they must have passed us, so I took a step back and tried to see up the bank. I felt as good as naked in the light of the new moon. And then Laura looked at the river. In my memory, she says never tell. Though I don't know for sure she said anything at all. It could have just been my mind, what I thought she said, but I hear it so clearly. Her last bit of voice saying, never tell. And then she had me about shoulders and the neck, pushing my head so hard into her, I couldn't breathe or move or call out. She all but broke me. She held me so tight. She was looking at the water, and I was looking at her sweater, and I knew that there was something she saw. And I knew it was bad. And I knew I would have to see it too, because it was there. Because at that time, I did not know how bad could be. There was no escaping it. When she saw that night, I held her as tight as she held me. Once we were in the woods, Laura dropped me. Her arm fell back away from my neck, and I fell into the leaves. She had taken but 10 steps when she sat down as if sailing decided it had all been too much for her. Laura! What was back there? Why didn't you let me see? Oh, you tell me or I'm leaving. You can't stop me this time. Now that I think about it, I think Laura must use all the strength she had coming for her in her lifetime, in those last few moments. Oh, just come on, I said, picking her up from under her arms. We're leaving now. I had taken but 10 steps when I felt something stop my face. It was a banana hanging from a birch tree. So I put out my hand to get it, but I just felt sick. Sick and lonesome. So I guided Laura home. Nellie's boy didn't come home that night from the river. By the time they found him, his body had nearly floated all the way to Nashville. Of course they had no idea who he was. His body had been in the water for 5 days, but Nellie sent word in every direction. After a while, came back. But they found someone. A man whose head sat backwards on his neck. Once I figured it all out, I decided never to tell. Dead is dead, and there is nothing you can do about that. I have a responsibility now. I can't spend too much time thinking about Nellie's boy when I'm looking out for Laura. I know you can't tell me. And I know I shouldn't ask, but do you ever wonder if we said we hadn't lacked the fruit? If we said we hadn't lacked it so much? I only hope now that Laura, just for a few seconds, just forget about Nellie's boy. And the words will come rushing back to one by one.
Next we have Alex McCullough. He's a third-year student and is our one and only senior. This will be his 3rd year to state, and tonight we will see his poetry.
was discovered by Dean Rusk. I was selling watermelons in the back of my van, and Mr. Rusk was passing by. I had a beautiful tenor voice in those days. Watermelons! And he said, would you do that again? I said, sure, Mr. Rusk. Watermelons! He took down my name and address, said he had a lot of connections. Having a pet can teach one responsibility, and having a pet can also take away that feeling of loneliness. The following poem has been featured in literature texts across the world. It tells the story of A Man and His Watermelon by Jackie Lynn. Dean Rusk also bought this huge watermelon we had in the back of the truck. It's one we never expected to sell. You see, we used to sit on it and carve tic-tac-toe games in it. I said, gee, Mr. Rusk, that's an awfully big watermelon you're buying. Having a party or something? He said, no, I'm buying it as a pet. I didn't say anything. I figured, well, teach his own, you know? I finally did get into show business myself, and for years I traveled all over the country, working in small nightclubs. Being shy and introverted, by nature, didn't have too many friends. I'd get very lonely. And one night, sitting in my small, dingy hotel room in Peoria, Illinois, I thought back to those days on the watermelon truck, Dean Rusk and his pet. And I wondered if maybe he didn't have something there. As I said, I was desperate enough to try anything. So I walked around town and found this little fruit store, watermelons piled up outside. I kind of browsed them a little, trying to feel the rapport with one of them. I was about to give it all up when I noticed one was winking at me. I bought that watermelon. I felt kind of silly as I was carrying up the stairs to my room, but I figured if this didn't work out, I could always eat it. But I must tell you, it turned out to be a fantastic relationship. That watermelon and I, we really hit it off. We were real buddies. I'd sleep with it and cuddle it. I'd tell the watermelon all my troubles. I'd try out new jokes on the watermelon and it'd roll all over the floor. I'd play games with my watermelon. I'd put my ear to it and hear the ocean. And one night, I thought I'd surprise my watermelon with a rhinestone collar and a leash. I thought I'd take my watermelon on its first walk. It was a beautiful night. The moon was shining, dragging my watermelon on down the street. I was at peace with the world. I must have gotten some tranquil state, because before I knew it, I'd wandered into a bad part of town. And a watermelon hater came running out the alley and shot a big hole in my watermelon. Pow! Have you ever heard a watermelon scream? Ah! I was standing there terrified, with my watermelon wounded, and the watermelon hater running off in the opposite direction, screaming something in Latin, "Fumicius meloni, Fumicius meloni," which I found out later meant, "down with watermelons." There's a phone booth nearby, so I ran to it. I went through the yellow pages and found a watermelon repairman. He's the only one in the book. In fact, the ad said he's the only one in the world. I called him and he asked, "Got any insurance? Blue Cross? United Fruit?" "We can worry about that all later. But please, you gotta help me." "Okay, bring it over." He took one look and said, "Wow, that's a big hole you got in that watermelon. Gotta watch it. Those things don't grow on trees." What a rotten joke to make at a time like this. "I don't know what I can do. It's lost a lot of water." "Well, please, do what you can." He disappeared into the watermelon repair room. Came out half an hour later, picking his teeth. and I knew there was no hope. He said, when you lose a watermelon, you should replace it immediately. But I couldn't. There wasn't a watermelon in the world that could replace my watermelon. A friend of mine sent me a Persian cantaloupe. They're much cleaner than watermelons, but you can't trust them. I once knew a guy so lonely, he befriended the grapefruit. But they're vicious. They will attack you. They go for the eyes.
Next up is Paige Robbins. She's a first-year sophomore, and she also qualified her oration, but tonight she will be performing her prose.
I took off on my bicycle. I intended to head down to the post office and play a little rodeo. I was almost there when I passed Ruth Huff and her hideous old collie King. She waved and I waved back. I decided to ride around the block and give some thought to Ruth Huff, 'cause she was old and disgusting. She lived in this huge, fallen down, scary and haunted house. It didn't even have any lights, and there were cats swarming all over that place, like bugs. Nobody knew how she fed them, and she walked around town all day, every day, with King, who was 500 dog years old and just one big clump of matted fur, except on his snout and around his butt, which were both naked. King could only pant and gasp for air. He never had a good day, as far as oxygen went. All children living in a child's carefree world, protected from life's ugliness, must eventually grow up. The spunky little girl in the following selection struggles to understand Ruth Huff and the hard reality of this adult world, as seen from A Girl Named Zippy by Haven Kimmel. I passed Ruth again. She waved and I waved. Ruth went to my church and she had a powerful stink. All the stinky old people had to go to my church. Ruth maybe even had double the odor because of all the cats and the constant presence of King's mange. She carried a little black beaded purse with her everywhere she went that looked like she'd been carrying it around since Christmas Eve of 1872. And in it, she kept a plastic baggie filled with quarters. When I approached Ruth again, she waved me over. Her hands were all gnarled up and dirty. So I rode up next to Ruth and leaned over and very reluctantly patted King on the top of his head, where I could completely feel his bony skull. On impulse, I checked the sky for buzzards, but it appeared that King would escape another day. "How are you, Angel?" Ruth asked, patting me on the arm with one of her claws. "You want a quarter? Here you go. Take it." When she handed it to me, I was filled with the spooks. Her dirty fingernails were touching me, and one of her eyes were even looking right at me. Even King had raised his head in the transaction. Everything was going wrong for King, except whatever was behind those eyes, because when I looked at him, I saw nothing but smart. A week later, I was riding around the cemetery when I saw the Bosbeck truck go by. Bosbeck had this big fleet of yellow trucks, and they picked up dead animals for free and were paid by the state. So I took off after that truck. My legs were pumping. I was still a block from Ruth Huff's when, ew, the smell, it hit me excitement was gathered outside, plus the Bosvet truck and 16 townspeople, including my dad, who met me halfway to the commotion.
Zip, you turn around and head back home. This is no place for you.
Nuh-uh, there's no way I'm going home.
Now wait a minute, Zippy, when did you start telling me what you were gonna do?
Since just this one time, Daddy, if you're gonna whip me, you go right ahead, 'cause I'm planning on staying right here. He crossed his arms over his chest and looked down at me like a big engine. He was thinking about what he was gonna do to me.
I'm gonna say this one time, are you listening? I'm gonna let you stay.
But you have to hold my hand, and if you don't, I'm gonna turn you upside down and split your butt. Are we clear? I nodded without cracking a smile. But my daddy'd been making that same threat my whole life. The fact that Ruth Huff was dead was no great concern to most. We'd seen it coming for a while. People weren't even especially concerned that it appeared that some of her cats had been snacking on her for 4 or 5 days while she lay undiscovered. Although this bothered me immeasurably, since I thought I'd seen just about all of nature there was to see. But this was truly new. The reason that 2 more Bosbeck trucks had been called was because a number of expired animals had been found in her basement. Not buried, just thrown down there. I stood across the street holding my daddy's hand and watched as the Bosbeck men, whom I hoped would someday be sent treasures straight from God, began bringing up the corpses and throwing them into the trucks. I finally had to tie my daddy's hanky around my neck to keep from fainting. And I noticed that in addition to smoking extra fast, my daddy kept sticking his Vicks inhaler up his nose. They brought up dogs and cats, some that barely retained their original shape, some that I'd seen alive just a few days before. I counted them as they were tossed into the trucks. 20, 30, 47. There were 47 dead animals in that house. She lived with them. She never told anybody, and she never asked for any help. Then I realized what I had unconsciously been waiting for. Daddy, they haven't brought out King. What if he's alive in there? I just think somebody should go check. King had been in bed with Ruth, and they brought him out last. 48. Thank you.
Next, we have Katie Austin. She's a first-year sophomore. This is her first time going to state, and she will be performing her informative speech.
I'm so sorry. I just had this. Oh yeah, now I remember. Remembering is basically mental time travel. Taking your brain from one place to another. And to remember, one must first start with a memory. Having a good memory is important to being a successful human being in this ever-changing world. Today, I will begin by showing you how memories are formed and stored. We will then look at why we cannot trust our memories, and finally, let's look at why we forget. Let's begin by looking at how our memories are formed and stored. First, we need to begin by making a memory. There. Now we have a memory of me making a fool out of myself in my informative speech. Research shows that our minds organize and store information systematically, making it easier to find memories when we need them. These recollections are linked in a web of memories. Each memory is linked to another that is similar to the one before. We have 3 types of memories: semantic memory, episodic memory, and procedural memory. Semantic memory stores facts and knowledge, like the presidents. Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison, while episodic records events and experiences, like your first kiss, and procedural reminds us how to do things, like making chocolate chip cookies the same way every time. British psychologist Frederick Bartlett concluded that everybody has what's called a schema, ideas that are shaped by our experiences. This provides a framework for our memories. He said it is easier to remember details and stories if they actually relate to our lives. We have two types of memories. Short-term memory, like remembering the specific date of the Louisiana Purchase, or long-term memory, like how to drive a car. When we put information in long-term memory, we actually learn it, whereas we only recall memories from short-term memory. This is why the semester final is always harder than the chapter test, because we didn't actually learn it the first time. These two processes are connected. If we can be reminded about what was happening when we put the information in long-term memory, then it will help us to recall it. Let's move on now and look at why our memories cannot be trusted. Although our minds are capable of storing massive amounts of information, they can't remember every detail of everything we've ever experienced. American psychologist Daniel Scudder said that there are 7 different ways that our minds fail us. He calls these the 7 sins of memory. These 7 sins are: 1. The mist of time. The mist of time refer to our memories that have left us because they happened so long ago, like our first birthday party, or when Santa brought us when we were 5. 2. Easily distracted. Easily distracted refers to our memories that were not properly stored in long-term memory because we were focused on something else. You know, when you're texting your boyfriend, then you realize your mom just gave you detailed instructions on how to fix dinner. Oops. 3. Now and then. 4. It's there somewhere. 5. Who said that? Who said that is when we have our facts right, but our source is not right. Like when we swear we heard something from our parent, but in reality, we actually heard it from our teacher. 6. Leading questions. And 7. Can't forget. Can't forget is when we have a memory that we can't forget, but we really wish we could. Like that thing I did earlier in my speech. Yet, another reason we cannot trust our memories is because, as people, we focus on specific details. For example, if you're at a party, you're focused on what the person you're speaking to is saying, and the rest of the noise is considered background noise. If a crime were committed at the party, you can remember the details correctly because you were focused on the cute boy in the corner. Elizabeth Loftus stated in Marcus Week's book, Heads Up Psychology, that people can come to believe things that never really happened. This is why eyewitness testimonies in a court of law are not always accurate. George Armitage Miller discovered that humans are only capable of taking in 7 memories at a time, thus meaning our minds are easy to overload and cannot be trusted. Finally, let's look at why we forget. Like I said before, we have 2 types of memories. Short-term memory only provides just enough information to be able to understand conversations and television shows, whereas long-term memory provides massive amounts of information we have gathered over our lifetimes. These 2 types of memories differ in the way they provide detail. Short-term memory provides sharp, vivid pictures of the things we are presently thinking about, whereas long-term memory provides fuzzy pictures of all of those memories we have accumulated. A study done by cognitive neuroscientist Timothy F. Brady at the Massachusetts School of Technology suggests that our minds may not be as fuzzy as we thought. In his study, he showed his participants 3,000 different pictures of common everyday objects, like a spoon, a rabbit, even a marriage and a cherry. He showed them each picture, one at a time, for a few seconds each. He then showed them 2 pictures and asked them which one they had seen before. They were over 90% correct. Now, you may be asking yourself, if our minds aren't so fuzzy, why do we forget? Forgetting is due to either encoding, which means we have not properly put the information in long-term memory, or retrieval failure, which means our encoding has gotten in the way of learning and remembering. Another study done by Nickerson and Adams suggests that we only encode just enough information to help us get through the day. For example, if you were shown 15 different versions of the common U.S. penny, and were then asked which one we actually use in the U.S., most of us would fail because we only encode just enough information to know the approximate size and color of a penny. In conclusion, today we talked about the mind's ability to remember. I told you how memories are formed and stored, And we made a memory. I told you why our memories cannot be trusted and why we forget. Now, I hope that you'll be able to store, sort, and retrieve the information I share with you so that you'll be able to remember this and never forget. Except for that.
Next we have Maddie Small. She's a first-year sophomore, and she will perform her poetry.
Once there was a lovely virgin called Snow White. Say she was 13. Her stepmother, a beauty in her own right, though eaten, of course, by age, would hear of no beauty surpassing her own. Beauty is a simple passion. Oh, but my friends, in the end, you will dance the fire dance in iron shoes.
We've all heard Disney's version of the fairy tale Snow White. Snow takes refuge in a dwarf cottage surrounded by singing birds. The evil queen comes to her death when she falls off of a cliff. Snow White marries the prince and lives happily ever after. American poet and Pulitzer Prize winner Anne Sexton takes a different view on this famous story in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs by Anne Sexton. The stepmother had a mirror to which she referred something like the weather forecast, a mirror that proclaims the one beauty in all the land. She would ask, "Looking glass upon the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" And the mirror would reply, Why, you queen, you're the fairest of them all." Pride pumped in her like poison. Suddenly, one day, the mirror replied, "Queen, you are full fair, 'tis true, but Snow White is fairer than you." Until that moment, Snow White had been no more important than a dust mouse under the bed. But now, the queen saw dark spots on her hand and 4 whiskers above her lip. And so, she condemned Snow White to be hacked to death. "Bring me her heart," she said to the hunter, "and I will salt it and eat it." The hunter, however, let his prisoner go, and brought a boar's heart back to the castle. The queen chewed it up like a cube steak. "Now I am fairest," she said, lapping her slim white fingers. Snow White walked in the wildwood for weeks and weeks, and at each turn there were 20 doorways, and at each stood a hungry wolf, its tongue lolling out like a worm. The birds called out lewdly, "Caw-caw," talking like pink parrots, "Caw-caw," and the snakes hung down in loops, each a noose for a sweet white neck. On the 7th week, she came to the 7th mountain, and there she found the dwarf house. It was as droll as a honeymoon cottage, and completely equipped, with 7 beds, 7 chairs, 7 forks, and 7 chamber pots. Snow White ate 7 chicken livers and lay down at last to sleep. The dwarves, those little hot dogs, walked 3 times around Snow White, the sleeping virgin. They were wise and wattled like small czars. "Yes, it's a good omen, and will bring us luck," they said. They stood on tiptoes to watch Snow White wake up, and she told them about the mirror and the killer queen, and they asked her to stay and keep house. "Beware of your stepmother. Soon she will know you're here. While we are away in the mines during the day, you must not open the door." "Looking glass upon the wall, who is..." The mirror told, and so the queen dressed herself in rags and went out like a peddler to trap Snow White. She went across 7 mountains. She came to the dwarf house,
and Snow White opened the door and bought a bit of lacing. The queen fastened it tightly around her bodice, as tight as an ace bandage, so tight that Snow White swooned. She lay on the floor, a plucked daisy. When the dwarves came home, they undid the lace, and miraculously she revived. She was as full of life as a soda pop. Beware of your stepmother. She will try once more. But Snow White, the dumb bunny, opened the door again, and she bit into a poisoned apple. She fell down for the final time. When the dwarves returned, they undid her bodice, but it did no good. Though they washed her with wine and rubbed her with butter, it was to no avail. She lay still as a gold piece. The 7 dwarfs could not bring themselves to bury the beautiful Snow White in the cold, black ground. And so they built a glass coffin and set it upon the 7th mountain, so that all who peeked by could peek in upon her beauty. A prince came one spring day. He stayed so long his hair turned green, but still he would not leave. The dwarves took pity upon the prince and gave him the glass Snow White, its doll eyes shut forever, to keep in his far-off castle. As the prince's men carried the coffin, they stumbled and dropped it, and the chunk of apple flew out of her throat, and miraculously she revived again. And thus Snow White became the prince's bride. The wicked queen was invited to the wedding feast, and when she arrived, she danced. She danced until she was dead, a subterranean figure, her tongue flicking in and out like a gas jet. Meanwhile, Snow White held court, rolling her china blue eyes open and shut, and sometimes referring to her mirror, as women do. Thank you.
Now we have Logan Nichols. He's a second-year sophomore. This is his first time going to state, and he will now give us his informative speech.
Let's say you're planning a graduation party. If you have every detail perfectly worked out a week ahead of time, right down to the color-coordinated cocktail napkins, you're probably the eldest child. But if you casually throw things together and invite a few extra guests at the last minute, it would be a safe bet that you're the middle child. And if you would rather someone else did all the work and you just showed up and entertained everyone, you're likely the baby. According to Frank Soloway, the author of Born to Rebel, the oldest is bossy, everyone babies the baby, and the middle child as well, stuck in the middle. Are these merely stereotypes, or is there some truth behind these differences? Well, research now shows that birth order does affect many aspects of our lives. Today, I will explain to you the firstborn achiever, the often forgotten middle child, and finally, the big baby. Let's begin with the firstborn. A mentor, a leader, and in the eyes of a younger sibling is sometimes a bully. Usually, though, the firstborn is the most structured and cautious child of the bunch. This is due to the time when the firstborn is an only child. They develop a sense of leadership. This makes it easy for firstborns to become perfectionists. After all, they see their parents coloring inside the lines and pouring milk without spilling. This perfectionism is part of what makes them so successful in life. They're high achievers and choose solid, well-established professions such as law, medicine, education, or accounting, usually rising to leadership positions. The trait responsible for this success is the firstborn's boosted intelligence. The main reason for this intelligence boost, according to Derek Thompson with The Atlantic 2013, is moms and dads simply go easy on their later born kids. Most parents, whether they want to admit it or not, put much more effort and care into their first child. By the second child, the parents have become laid back, and even more so with the third child. But the environment also influences the child's intelligence, according to Sandra J. Newman. She says that lower income households tend to produce more intelligent children, because in richer households there are amenities such as a TV or a gaming device. But in a lower income house, the parents have more time to focus on the child without the child being so distracted. Now let's move on and look at the middle children. In 2012, Psychology Today declared that middle children are neglected by not only parents, but also researchers. They also say that middle children are resentful and have no drive. I do not agree with this statement simply because I am a middle child. But a new label is being used to describe these symptoms of resentfulness and laziness, middle child syndrome, and it occurs in a family of 3 or more children when one of the children feels left out or neglected. Despite these feelings, many studies have shown that middle children become very successful as adults, because Psychology Today also says that more than 52% of the United States presidents were middle children. This in itself proves that middle children can be just as successful as their older siblings. But the middle child's success strays far beyond just politics, because middle children are the best for relationships, according to Dr. Salmon with WomansDay.com. He says they're like type O blood and can go with anybody despite their feelings about it. In 2014, Huffington Post claims that middle children surround themselves with a ring of friends as extended family due to their lack of attention in their own household. Hey, I have lots of friends. And finally, I would like to talk about the last one of the family, aka the baby, and I will affectionately refer to as Liam. Everyone knows Liam gets everything he wants. He is spoiled rotten. He will get a cell phone earlier than I did. He won't have curfews like I do, and everything about his life is easier. And in the eyes of Liam, he is inferior to my older brother and me. Liam realizes he can get away with just about anything, and it can be very frustrating for my older brother and me when Liam blames what seems like everything on us. And my parents just let it happen because Liam is the baby of the family. But being the youngest isn't all roses, because most last-born children view their older siblings as better, faster, or smarter, which is why they may be more rebellious, according to Sandra Newman. The author of Birth Order, Why You Are the Way You Are, Kevin Lehman, says that once the last child comes along, parents aren't nervous first-time parents anymore. And this is why they may get away with a little more than their older siblings. But the youngest may not act like the baby at all if the age gap between he or she and their older siblings is more than a couple years. In these cases, the youngest acts more like the oldest. So, where you land in the birth order spectrum does affect many aspects of your lives. Today, I have explained to you the firstborn achiever, bully, the often forgotten middle child, and finally, the big baby. And everyone knows those parties that are just thrown together are the most fun. And don't worry, you're invited. Thank you.
Next we have Steven Swingle. He's a second-year sophomore. This is his first time going to state with his poetry.
Orbiting the sun at about 98 million miles is a little blue planet. And this planet is run by a bunch of monkeys. Now, the monkeys don't think of themselves as monkeys. They don't even think of themselves as animals. And they love to list all the things that they think separate themselves from the animals. Opposable thumbs and self-awareness. Oh yes, there is life on other planets, but not the little green men literature movies would like you to believe. In fact, these aliens are very similar to, well, us. They have a lot of the same dreams and aspirations that we have, and they make a lot of the same mistakes that we do. Why, they're almost human. Dance Monkeys Dance by Ernest Klein. You say tomato, I say tomato. They're animals all right. They're monkeys. Monkeys with high-speed digital fiber optic technology. But monkeys, nevertheless. I mean, they're clever. You've got to give them that. The pyramids, skyscrapers, jets, the Great Wall of China. That's all pretty impressive for a bunch of monkeys. Monkeys whose brains have evolved to such an unmanageable size that it's pretty much impossible for them to stay happy for any length of time. In fact, they're the only animals that think they're supposed to be happy. All the other animals can just be. But it's not that simple for the monkeys. You see, the monkeys are cursed with consciousness, and so the monkeys are afraid. And so the monkeys worry. The monkeys worry about everything, but mostly about what all the other monkeys think. Because the monkeys desperately want to fit in with the other monkeys. Which is hard to do, because a lot of the monkeys seem to hate each other. This is what really separates them from the other animals. These monkeys hate. They hate monkeys who are different. Monkeys from different places, monkeys of a different color. You see, the monkeys feel alone. All 7 billion of them. Some of the monkeys pay another monkey to listen to their problems. Because the monkeys want answers, and the monkeys don't want to die. So, the monkeys make up gods, and then they worship them. Then the monkeys argue over whose made-up god is better. Then the monkeys get really ticked off, and this is usually the time that the monkeys decide it's a good time to start killing each other. So, the monkeys wage war. The monkeys make hydrogen bombs. The monkeys have got their whole planet wired up to explode. They just can't help it. Some of the monkeys play to a sold-out crowd of other monkeys. The monkeys make trophies, and they give them to each other, like it means something. Some of the monkeys think they got it all worked out. Some of the monkeys read Nietzsche. The monkeys argue about Nietzsche without giving any consideration to the fact that Nietzsche was just another monkey. The monkeys fall in love. The monkeys make plans. The monkeys... And then they make more monkeys. The monkeys make music, and then the monkeys dance. Dance, monkeys, dance! The monkeys make a heck of a lot of noise. Exhibit A, monkey making noise. And I will always love you. And when he's done, 5 other randomly selected monkeys will rate this monkey's noises on a scale of 1 to 10. At the end of the night, they add all the numbers up to see which monkey made the best noises. As you can see, these are some messed up monkeys. These monkeys are at once the ugliest and most beautiful creatures on the planet. And the monkeys don't want to be monkeys. They want to be something else, but they aren't.
Now we have Lindsay Derricks. She's a second-year sophomore. This will be her second year to state, and tonight we will see her humor solo.
Look, I'm a witch, okay? We have warts. It's not a choice, it's genetics. And we think they're attractive. That was until they put me into the public school system. They took me out of school in Greenwich, Connecticut, and forced me into a homeroom composed mainly of smooth complexions, mortals. I'm like, why not just put me in a vat and boil me now? These people were ghastly, not a blotch on their faces. Except this one girl, Laura Sue Jurgensen. She had this acne problem, but they solved it for her. They made her invisible. Roselda, a teenage witch, finds herself in a bit of a sticky situation. Watch as she discovers whether it's worth losing her identity to fit in And the Broom You Rode In On by Jerry Rabushka. I started to feel, well, unsightly. I came home from school one day and I'm like, Mom, I have warts. And she's like, Roselda, dear, you're a witch, ugly as pretty, and you're beautiful. But I have a wart on the tip of my nose. It's like a raisin. Darling, I had that when I was a girl. That's why your father married me. And then I lost it in a meat cutter accident, and now I'm repulsive. Mom didn't get it. Witches couldn't mainstream. And the broom thing. No, I will not sweep the hallways. This is a sophisticated transportation vehicle. No, I will not give you a ride to class. I didn't care if Sky Bridges was late to band practice one more time. If she was, she would be demoted to last chair clarinet. She'd have to share music with Laura Sue Jurgensen. She'd actually have to acknowledge Laura's existence on the planet. Finally, I was called before the principal and the guidance counselor. The principal went first. Roselda, I understand you're having problems fitting in, but is it really necessary to ride your broom from class to class? You're giving the other students a complex. I have a complex. I'm a witch. No one talks to me because I have warts. Perhaps no one talks to you because you turned your class president into a toad. Yeah, I did do that, I have to admit. Are you going to turn him back? No. The guidance counselor tried a different tactic. Roselda, dear, I understand that your warts aren't your problem, but have you ever heard of waterway? Just one drop a day melts your warts away. This is high school. Appearance is everything, I reminded her, as if she wasn't permanently living this nightmare. Like the appearance of my clothes. The goth kids hated on me because I wore black. One emo girl even stopped cutting herself long enough to look at me and whine. Are you, like, trying to, like, be one of us? I'm just, like, trying to own my misery, and you're just hoarding in on it. It's like you're, like, trying to adopt the look without the, like, corresponding depression, and I just, like, hope you know how insulting it is. I'm a witch, I reminded her. It's not a choice, it's heritage. Oh, and don't worry. We only eat children smaller than ourselves. The cauldron pretty much boiled over when I had it out with my English teacher about Macbeth. I argued that this play is stereotypical and demeaning towards witches. I think it should be banned. He simply told me to get out of my classroom, you and the broom you rode in on. I ended the conversation how I usually did, by zipping him into a toad. Most of my conversations ended with the other party hopping away. I was called before the school board. My parents, and a very displeased Uncle Broderick. He was pretty unhappy. Rosalda! I understand you. This is a wholly inappropriate method of dealing with your frustrations. But, Uncle Broderick, if I can't turn them into toads, what can I turn them into? Nothing. You can turn yourself into a more tolerant and understanding young lady. But what fun is that? We came to an agreement. There was to be no casting spells on people who couldn't cast back, no toad turning, and absolutely no riding my broom from class to class. Oh, and no eating third graders. I also had to turn everybody I turned in toads back into humans. I did this quickly, and I might have miscounted. Let's just say first grade is going to be pretty overcrowded in a couple of years. Oops. Uncle B had made the agreement, and I had fulfilled. My warts were going to be gone. He towered over me and chanted the spell that would change my life. Just one drop a day melts your warts away. I couldn't believe it. I ran my hand over my skin. It was smooth. I ran to the bathroom and closed my eyes. This was it. 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Now we have Carly Shue. She's a first-year sophomore. This will be her first time going to state, and she will now deliver her original oration.
My mom made me practice this speech 300 times yesterday. She told me a million times to stand up straight, enunciate, have good eye contact, and if I didn't get one, I'd be grounded for 3 months. No pressure, right? Parents have one of the most important jobs on the planet, and for the most part, they're getting a failing grade. Today, we'll explore extreme types of bad parenting by first looking at the role of a good parent and how most parents are harming their children. We will then look at the effects of overpraising and parental pressure on kids. And finally, we'll look at what parents can do to fix these bad habits and become better role models. Let's begin by looking at the problem itself. First of all, parents are supposed to be a child's biggest supporter, role model, and confidant. According to Marcus Weeks, author of Heads Up Psychology, 2014,
From a very early age, children rely on parents not only for their basic needs, but also to form strong emotional bonds, needed to be adventurous, and become more knowledgeable about the world around them. And as children grow older and mature, they start to question the purpose of life and eventually form their sense of identity. However, being a teenager can be fairly confusing, and no matter how hard they try, parents normally just make it worse. According to author and psychologist Madeline Levine, parents are supposed to support child's interests and ideas while teaching them the importance of success and the lessons behind failure. However, most parents completely miss the mark when trying to achieve these goals, either by incorrectly praising or putting too much pressure on kids. Incorrect praising can bring up questions such as, how can anyone think praise is bad? Or, aren't we supposed to praise our children? If not dished out correctly, praise can actually be harmful. And according to Nick Friedman in Psychology Today, published 2014, because parents are human, they think that deep down they have something really unique and special about themselves. This belief can then be passed on to children because the parent thinks that since they themselves are special, their kid must be too. Like, just because my mom's really good at math doesn't mean I'm going to be very good at it. And just because my dad can back perfectly straight out of the garage doesn't mean I'm not going to knock off the driver's side mirror once in a while. And according to Duke University psychologist Mark Leary, unless they have a conflicted, awful relationship, parents are normally going to give their children the benefit of the doubt. They probably think they're smarter than they actually are, and more attractive too. Like those parents that show you every single baby picture and, oh look, it's another senior picture. Yeah, I know, I've seen 30 other ones. And if you've ever been to any type of sporting event, regardless of the age, you've probably come face to face with a parent that's convinced that their child is the next Steve Prefontaine. According to Jennifer Hahn-Holbrook of Chapman University, the reasons we have such high rates of helicopter parenting and such a strong need to see our children as better than average is because we have fewer kids. When all of our hope for a genetic line is wrapped up in one egg, we're going to invest everything we have in that one egg. As for the crazy sports parent, there's normally two extremes. One has their child convinced that they're the next Michael Jordan. The other forces their child to shoot baskets every day in order to become the next Michael Jordan. And while having your child convinced that they're the best is not healthy, putting too much pressure on your kids can also be very detrimental. According to Dr. Robbie Ludwig, doctor of psychology, he has found different ways that point to being a high-pressure parent. One way is when a high-pressure parent becomes mad or depressed when their child doesn't succeed in academics or sports. Like, most of my friends ride the bus home after practice or a game because they don't want to have to hear a play-by-play of what just happened. Another sign is when they give too much negative feedback. They focus on what their child did wrong instead of the amount of effort that they put into that activity. They also tend to be extremely unrealistic and put their kids in an insane amount of activities and expect them to balance them out and perform them flawlessly. It just can't be done. Now let's move on and look at the impact of this problem. Now that we know what an overpraising or delusional parent is, we can look at the effects that it has on children. In many cases, it can lead them to become unmotivated or scared to take on a challenge. Columbia University researchers Caroline Mueller and Carol Dweck conducted an experiment using two groups of children solving puzzles. On one group, they praised on intelligence, and the other, they praised on effort. As the puzzles became increasingly harder, the group praised on intelligence quit and equated their failure with stupidity. The group praised on effort, however, persisted and eventually mastered the puzzles. Another effect of being overpraised is children can become praise addicts. One problem with being a praise addict is that they lose persistence. Once the constant flow of compliments that they rely on stop coming in, they simply quit. And in today's society, we cannot afford to be raising unmotivated children scared to take on a challenge. And while overpraising your children can have very bad effects, putting too much pressure can also be very detrimental to their mental and physical health. Jamie Budzinski, Master of Education, have found different signs that show that a child's under too much stress. Some are eating disorders, loss of sleep, withdrawal from friends and family, higher rates of depression, and a general dissatisfaction with life. Younger children can have illnesses, headaches, or refuse to go to school. In an APA's 2013 Levels of Stress in America survey, they found that today's generation of teenagers is the most stressed out it's ever been. While parents and adults rate their stress on a scale of 10, a 5, teenagers typically rate theirs at a shocking 6.5. In September 2014, 2 students committed suicide by jumping off their 5th floor dormitory. They left behind notes saying that they couldn't handle the pressure that their parents put on them to do well in school. As rare of an occurrence as we would like to believe this is, it's not. In India, 20 kids a day commit suicide because they are under so much stress put on them by their parents to be allowed into a prestigious school. And in the UK, a poll using 6,020 self-harming students found that 70% linked their self-harm back to parental pressure. And in the US, which ranks among the highest in suicide rates, 10% of the suicides are because of parental pressure, according to mentor and education specialist Anna Barchetti-Durish. Finally, let's see what parents can do to fix these bad habits and become better role models. For the overpraising parent, the fix can be fairly simple. After analyzing over 30 years of studies, Mark Corpus and Jennifer Lexis have found different ways that make praise a motivating tool. One way is to make sure that praise is sincere and specific. Parents also need to make sure that their praise conveys attainable goals and encourages children not to compare themselves to others, but to want to master the skills themselves. As for the high-pressure parent, the fix can be also fairly simple. Parents just need to become less involved. Dr. Robbie Ludwig said that when parents do things that they love, they help their children see the benefits that it has in their social and work life. High-pressure parents also need to become way more realistic and get their heads out of the clouds. When their child comes home after a long day of school, practice, and work to tell them they got a B on that terrible chemistry exam that they studied so hard for, the parent can't be upset that they didn't get the A that they wanted. Dr. Ludwig says that parents need to ask their children how they feel they did before they give their feedback. In conclusion, I've shown you that while parents may have the most important job in the world, that doesn't mean that they are doing it well. Overpraising and parental pressure can have major effects on a child's mental and physical well-being. Luckily, solutions do exist today that can help parents become the role models that they need to be. And I really hope all that practice paid off because I really hate being grounded. Thank you.
Finally, we have Jeffrey Metzler and Nathaniel Belt. Jeffrey is a third-year junior, and this is his 3rd year going to state. Nathaniel Belt is a third-year junior also, and this is his 2nd year going to state. They will now perform their duet.
Quickly, sire, we must reach the tower before it's too late.
So many stairs. Yet I travel with the speed of love, Milo.
Well, sire, you'll just have to tell love to...
Oh,
Hurry up!
why? So many stairs. Haven't these people ever heard of an elevator?
Sire, here she is.
Hold on a second. I need to catch my breath.
All right, slowly.
Ah, much better. I can feel my royal heart rate returning to normal. Oh, wow. She is pretty. Wow.
Finding happily ever after is not always easy.
One must make the right decisions at the right times.
And in the following selection, the clock is ticking as
Prince Charming
is reluctant to bestow
True Love's Kiss by Bobby Keniston.
She is the most beautiful woman in all the land.
That's why we call her Sleeping Beauty.
Oh, you mean because she's so beautiful?
Yes, Your Majesty. Once again, your royal brain has cracked that code with great swiftness and accuracy.
Oh, I thank you, Milo. But do tell me, what about the sleeping part?
What?
Milo, my less than royal sidekick, you said they call her Sleeping Beauty because she's so beautiful, yes?
Correct.
Well, what about the sleeping part?
Because she's asleep!
Milo, I could have figured that one out on my own, thank you. Poor maiden. Must get tired having to walk up all those stairs. Wake up, gorgeous! Your true love is here! Oh, talk about a heavy sleeper.
Your Majesty, did you not listen to a word I said on our journey over here? I did go over all of this.
Well, to be honest, Milo, I was, what's the phrase? Oh, yes, tuning in and out. But, I did hear the part about, true love's kiss, and well, that sounded nice.
All right, I will go over it one more time. This young maiden has fallen under a dreadful curse.
A curse?
Yes!
No! Why must this happen to every woman I meet?
But you can save her, Your Majesty.
I can.
Yes, that's why we came here. Like I said 100 times before.
Well, that's good news then, isn't it? But tell me, what must I do to save her?
This young maiden stuck her finger on a spinning wheel almost 100 years ago. And unless she receives true love's kiss by midnight, she is doomed. Never to wake.
That's it? I just have to kiss her?
That's all. But quickly, midnight is only a few minutes away.
So it is. Well then, sweet Milo, I shall kiss with the swiftest of lips and save the life of my one true love.
Quickly, sire, come.
Right. I don't know about this, Milo.
What is to know? Just kiss her.
Well, how do we know she's not...
She's not what?
dead?
She is not dead. Honestly, Your Majesty, that is ridiculous.
Well, how do you know, Milo? Do you have some sort of medical degree that you never told me about?
No, but...
Well, you shall pardon me if I do not rely upon your strictly unprofessional opinion, because I am not about to kiss a dead girl. Gross.
Nobody is asking you to kiss a dead girl. She's only asleep, but she will be dead if you do not.
Yeah, I have an idea. Do you have a mirror on you?
No, I do not. Now is not the time to be checking your hair.
Milo, trust me, it's not for that. You see, I have the express idea that if she is alive, she will fog up the mirror with her breath.
Midnight is drawing near.
You must have dropped it.
Your Majesty, did you hear that?
What?
I believe she snored. That proves that she's alive.
So it does. So my true love snores, eh? Would be lying if I didn't admit that was a little disappointing.
Just kiss her!
Well, fine, Milo. Oh! Oh!
What now, for crying out loud?
She is drooling. There is drool on her chin. Look at it.
Oh, Your Majesty, she has been asleep for over 100 years. She drooled a little. Give her a break.
Oh, so now you're telling me that my true love drools and snores. Well, Milo, this is getting more appealing by the minute.
Now you listen to me, Your Majesty. You are a prince. It is your job to do heroic deeds. This woman's life is resting in your hands. And you stand here whining about a little saliva.
Well, don't get mad, Milo. I hate it when you yell at me.
I'm not mad.
Yes, you are. Your nostrils are flaring. Your nostrils always flare when you get angry at me.
All right. I'm sorry. It's just, do you realize how many people are actually lucky enough to receive a life-changing, happily ever after moment? Not many.
Oh.
Someone like me will never have an opportunity like this. I can only look forward to the same. Day after day, my only chance is to live vicariously through you. Yet here you stand, letting your one opportunity pass you by. It's enough to make me weep.
Oh, don't cry, Milo. Listen, I'll kiss her. I'll kiss her for you.
Thank you, sire.
Just... Oh, that's just repulsive. Oh, it smells just like raw liver and cabbage. Well, it's true, Milo. You try kissing her.
Please, miss, he was just trying to... Oh, you're right, sire. Just like raw liver and cabbage, you know. I am not talking to you, pal. I'm speaking to the one with the roving that's over here.
You don't understand. I am your one true love.
You were under a curse, and the only way to break it was with true love's kiss. Now, this man here, the one who kissed you, is a noble prince. And he has to be your true love, because the moment he kissed you, you woke up and the curse was broken.
Hey, Milo. You know I do love these adventures we go on, but this one, the more I think of it, the weirder it is. I mean, why did you bring me here again? Oh yes, you said it was for my happily ever after moment. Well, guess what, Milo? I'm not happy. Not happy at all.
That makes two of us. Zip it! Both of you. I have had enough of the whining and complaining. In all my years in a magical kingdom, I have half the mind just to let you both walk away from this entire situation and scratch it up as a lost opportunity. But that would be a real shame, because whether you like it or not, the universe, for some reason, has decided that you two are meant to be together. Else you would be asleep, snoring and drooling for all eternity. And you, your majesty, you are obviously meant to be with this woman, else your kiss never would have had the power to wake her up. Don't you understand? You pricked your finger on that spinning wheel 100 years ago. What? This old thing? Why, I use it all the time, and I can tell you with utmost certainty that there's no curse attached to it whatsoever, because you're telling me that I touched the needle like...
Oh no, Milo, she's getting angry. Don't tell me I have to kiss her again.
Actually, your majesty, I don't think she's right for you.
But you just said...
I know what I said, but let's face it, you two weren't exactly hitting it off.
No, and she does snore. But how will I ever find my happily ever after now, Milo?
I guess you'll just have to keep trying like the rest of us. But, I did hear some peasants talking about a young woman who bit into a poisoned apple and is doomed to die unless she receives true love's kiss.
But poisoned apple, you say?
Indeed.
True love's kiss?
Genius, isn't it?
Well then, Milo, what are we waiting for? Let us away, for I shall save her with the strength of my lips.
That's the spirit, sire.
All right, thank you again all for coming, and I know there's ice cream out in the hallway, so help yourselves. I ran out of tape on the last one. Oh, no.